super thanks on today's mailbag to kick things off from CJ DeYoung III. You're wrong there, Tom. Cowboys front office is special in the mean kind of special way. I'll edit for clarity there, kind of pushing the I'll put anything on a super thanks on the show metrics there. The press conference went badly, and this came in before the press conference. But we also saw that one coming. Foxtrot Gaming. Hey, Tom, give Tolbert some credit. I bet he is the clear wide receiver 2 for the Cowboys by the end of the season. I'm willing to say 700-plus yards and 5-plus touchdowns. Love you, brother. Go Cowboys. I think every single person out there would take that stat line from Jalen Tolbert right now. That means he played really well and almost, in fact, I think definitely did triple his production over the course of his career. Now, those questions were all super thanks. It's no different really than a super chat on a live show, just the on-demand version. You edit your message, send in whatever. We will give you some love if you send in a super thanks or a super chat, of which Mark sent in several. Says he talks about the 6 most wins, yet does not mention him ranked 30th in playoff wins over the 30 years. He would sign a check? Hankins not worth $2 million? Clown. That's a big part of it. It's really hard to say there's no check you wouldn't sign to win a Super Bowl when you're spending some of the least amount of actual money involved. Your cap's getting filled up. Your cash isn't. So that's really frustrating for fans. It's the mouth says one thing and the body does something else. We can all see that the actions do not match up with the words there. For Mark, it's simple. Do what others do. If you believe in your big 3, sign them. Save money, open cap space, sign good and solid role players like Hankins. I completely agree. This is so spot on because you're spending like $100 million less over less than a 5-year period for the teams like Philadelphia. Steve, when he mentions the Vikings, he's doing it on purpose because he can't make that claim about Philadelphia because the Eagles are paying 2 receivers over $25 million. They got 12 players making $10 million a year this year. It's double you. Double you. U as in like what you are doing. Y-O-U, not W as in, the whatever. If you think those are your guys, then pay them early and go win. The Eagles make contract mistakes too. They say, we messed up, and they find a way to make it work. The Cowboys make a contract mistake, and the world falls apart around them. And they will use, we paid Zeke and we couldn't pay Tyron. Literally an excuse that they used. Who Zeke is now he's gotten cut and not brought back by 2 teams in that same time frame. That's, the Cowboys make it seem like one bad contract, and it's like, oh my God, we can't do anything now. We're in such bad shape. It's not on the other end. It's not how the rest of the NFL operates. Why? Mark's right. Do what the other contenders are doing. Because this strategy the Cowboys are using would work if they had Patrick Mahomes. Ain't got no Patrick Mahomes. Mark says, Tom, for GM, poll that, Tom. How's the family? Clowns. 2 different thoughts there on how's the family and clowns, to be clear. Family's doing well. Again, 10 years maximum, I would win 1 championship. Guarantee it. If not, I'll just resign in disgrace. Talks to Tom trolling. It's funny. I was doing some mean trolling on social media. Who is the most to prove at camp? Mazi? Lance has a lot to prove. Probably Mazi. He's a first-round pick, and he didn't do very well last year and missed all of OTAs and minicamp. And this team was also banking on Mazi in a much bigger way than they're banking on Lance. If Lance isn't good, it's a 4th-round pick. You move on from him next year. If Mazi's bad, you can't sit up there and say you're going to draft and develop and then not draft and develop well, Got to hit those picks. Got to hit on them. It's a big deal for me. Who do you think is under the most pressure at training camp this year? Sound off for me in the comment section of today's show. The pinned comment, actually, of today's show. Who was under the most pressure for the Cowboys in 2024? Tristan K. Hey, Tom, if it's not 70%, what do you think the actual percentage is that the big 3 will take up of our cap spending? So there's actually, and this is part of the complicatedness, there's actually multiple ways of determining just how much they're going to spend for you. You can determine it based on like the percentage of the cap when signed. You can determine it based on what actual percentage of the cap it is. Like right now, with Dak's massive cap hit and CeeDee Lamb's big cap hit, and if you want to just pretend it's the Micah number for next year is the fifth-year option, and you're not maximizing what you're doing relative to the salary cap with what you're paying them, even right now, it's not even 40%. So we are literally about double. It's actually about double what Jerry had said it was. And that's not, being aggressive with how you structure the contract to push money off each, like all those smart teams are doing, like Mark mentioned earlier. If you were to pay Dak, pay Lamb, and pay Micah this year, that number would have dropped from what it is right now. You would have saved money in the short term paying those guys, and it's not even a quarter. Now, in year 2 and year 5, it'll be a little bit more, and you'll have other payers, but by then, you're getting the Tank Lawrence deal off your books. The Zach Martin deal would be off your books as well. So it's not 70. And even if you're paying the cash number to the cap number and you're putting at the high end, it's not 50. I genuinely don't know where Jerry pulled 70 out of, except out of his ass. Like, it's just not true. It's like, I'm just going to pick a number and ride with it. I honestly have no idea how he got to that number, because it's so far off, none of it makes sense. Now, what does make sense is using Rocket Money to monitor your spending and make sure you're not paying for things you don't want anymore. How closely do you guys really track your bank statements and credit card history? Who's missed something? I have. It's also, by the way, a pain in the butt when you get charged for something and you got to go figure it out and see what the hell is going on there. That's not fun. Rocket Money makes it easier for you. They're a personal finance app that finds and cancels your unwanted subscriptions, monitors your spending, and helps lower your bills so you can grow your savings. Rocket Money has over 5 million users and it's a total of 500 million in canceled subscriptions, saving members up to $470 a year when using all of the app's features, including they'll negotiate to lower your bill for you, taking the workload off of you and saving you money in the process. So stop wasting money on things you don't use. Cancel your unwanted subscriptions by going to rocketmoney.com/Cowboys. That's rocketmoney.com/Cowboys. Link will be in the comments section and the description of today's show. That's rocketmoney.com/Cowboys. For Mark, I think he's praying Trey comes through and he saves money. As for CeeDee, if he signed him a year ago, that money's saved because you saw a guy like Hankins. You could have signed Lamb this offseason and paid Zach Moss and Hankins and still had leftover money. Like I've seen people claim, it's not impacting their cash spending. Yes, it is. Because now you can't spend the $10 million plus you would have saved on this year's cap. That can roll over, can help take out some money next year, but you don't get it this season. Jerry's like 80% of the way there when he says, you can do credit card stuff. Yes, and if you're always doing credit card stuff, with the way the NFL cap works, with a consistently rising salary cap and $13 billion of revenue each year, yeah, you can keep throwing money off in the future. It's fine. Don't have to be the Saints. You can be Philly, and then take your bad money when you're non-competitive. That's what you should be doing. And even, by the way, if Lance is good, you're not going to save that much money in the end, by the way, because he's not going to commit to like a 4-year deal with low starter money. He'll do a prove-it deal if he thinks he's good enough. So it's very short-sightedness from this organization through and through. From Joshua Smith, is there a scenario in which Cowboys actually trade Mazi Smith now? I don't think so, for a couple reasons. A, you're selling so low, you're not going to remotely get any return on value. The return on investment, it's going to be like you bought a stock at $20 and you sold it for $1. Like, at that point, is it even worth it for you? You're kind of better off. It's not a loss until you sell it. You know? You actually are better off just like holding out hope at that point, because the downside is he hits and then you just took a huge loss when you just could have held it there. Plus, you don't have the bodies at defensive tackle. So do you believe in Mazi Smith? Y for yes, N for no. Sound off in the comments of today's show. Mark, what did Miss Slater question JJ on? I missed that. Jane had kind of, actually the first time, pushed him a little bit more on like why they haven't done these deals. And there were a couple reporters who did that, but Jane was minus 10,000 to ask an actually challenging, press conference question. Also from Mark, I had no doubt if we redid the big three contracts, signed 2 solid FAs, and signed Gilmore and Hankins and drafted running back, we'd be Super Bowl bound. Now 8-9, 9-8. You know what's funny is you could have redone the big three contracts, and even you don't have to touch Micah because you're not going to be the same savings for Micah, but it's fine. You could have signed 2 players and Gilmore, Hankins, or comparable replacements at similar contracts, and you would have had more cap space available still. Like, that's the benefits of doing these things early. The Cowboys are always last in line. And that's not a good place to be because you're not maximizing your spending. You're paying a premium because you wanted to wait. It's not a good contract strategy, and this team refuses to acknowledge it. Now, we will have Cowboys news and rumors and training camp updates and more. Hit that sub button so you don't miss out. YouTube.com/@CowboysTV. For Mark, Tom, I've submerged myself in hot wax for an all-over body wax and just to have JJ shut up. He sits there and smirks and believe what he says. He's ill. He was looking pretty rough at the start of that press conference. He was better as it went on in terms of like making cognitive sense. But look, it's frustrating because there is no accountability for Jerry and Steven. There's not. The ticket sales are still good. They're making their money. We care. We are Stockholm Syndrome through and through. And just got to wait. And they can just be like, you know what? It's not. Tim Cowshaw, who I know not everyone likes, great question. Like, the coaches and quarterbacks get fired. Why don't you get in trouble? Like, why are you not, like, how is that a good system, basically? He's right. From Mark, Mazi's like Dak. Love you or hate him. Have them on no one else. Okay. See, you have no one else. Yes, they're banking on Mazi Smith. Like they gotta have him out there. Like they need him out there. He is too important because they don't have anybody else at DT. Unitive says trade CeeDee Lamb for 3 firsts. So this is like, and it's a little bit of a weird dichotomy. If you are getting an offer of 3 first-round picks for a player, should you be trading that player? Like, yeah, those first, like, I don't think anyone's offering that. I don't think you can get that. And if you could get it, maybe that means you shouldn't take it type of deal, which is, I know it's kind of like, not fence sitting, but like weird. Both things can't be true at once, but kind of is. Amir R., what's the plan for Deuce Vaughn and Turpin? Gadget. Some slot stuff. More so for Turpin. Some backfield stuff. More so for Deuce Vaughn, but I think you'll see Turpin lined up back in there. Look, Lance Dunbar is pretty small. Turpin's smaller. Lance Dunbar, when he played for the Cowboys, he wasn't really a running back. There was a stretch at one point where he was out there. It was like 30-something snaps, 0 runs. It was all passes. But they got him involved, and it worked. So gadget return stuff, get speed and space options. Like I think there's ways to get them the ball. You just got to balance it of like, hey, if you're doing the receiver in the backfield, should it be for Turpin or should it be for CeeDee Lamb? I think that's the issue they kind of ran into last year. I want you guys to grade the Cowboys' skill players as well. A, B, C, D, or F. How do you feel about the Cowboys have non-quarterback, receiver, tight end, running back for this team? Chase Wolf, why do the reporters at press conferences not call out the BS coming out of Jerry's mouth? Too easy to prove his comments false. Just do it with tact. I don't have a great answer for you. Look, I am not a journalist. Let's start with that. I am a YouTuber. So I can say stuff like Jerry's lying, and it doesn't impact my job. If a reporter for whatever outlet goes, Jerry, you're lying, that would probably impact his job a little bit. So again, that's the tact angle of it. But there's also this element of you can challenge them, they can just ignore you, and as you saw, not answer the question. That's why I think it requires, you need really good journalists to handle that kind of stuff. And if I'm being honest here, those types of journalists who would be really good at that, a lot of them are doing non-sports journalism. Like, they're the ones that are investigating the companies who were lying about oil spills and shit, Like, they're doing the stuff that matters a little bit more. But you have people who do challenge them, and I do appreciate that from Cowboys media.